for short. I'm Amanda Pyburn, a member here and your service leader this morning. If you're visiting today, you can find more information about us on our website, uufec.com. And you can also view past services to get to know us better. We are a religious community with the emphasis on community. We are united not by shared beliefs handed down to us through the ages, but by a shared interest in exploration to find our own paths and our shared principles, which you'll find on the back of your order of service. We are committed to service, spiritual growth, and caring fellowship. We come here to listen, to learn, and to be changed by the experience of interacting with others. Announcements are also listed in your order of service, along with descriptions of upcoming services. And we have a couple of special announcements. First of all, last week we heard that a longtime member, Reese Howley, had passed away. There is a card for her brother and family in the back if you would like to sign it. We also have a Thanksgiving dinner announcement.
Hi everybody, I'm Steve Harris-Dixon. We're having a Thanksgiving dinner on Thanksgiving Day proper, and we're doing a joint event with the PFLAG. And so there's a sign-up sheet at the back, and you can talk to me or Cal if you want more information.
And one by Judy.
Some may know and some may not know that we always have an annual meeting in October to elect officers. You'll notice, however, it is November. And in lieu of Jane should be making this announcement as past president, but she's not here. So I have a petition calling for a special meeting on the 1st of December. We'll be following our service on the 1st of December. I need a minimum of 16 members in good standing, and I am the finance chair, so if you're a member, please see me after the service, and let's get at least 16. I know there are a lot more than that here. So, and then on the 1st, please be here to elect officers, and we'll have a short financial report then. Thanks.
After the service, we have a brief time for refreshments, coffee, and I know we'll have lots of conversation, followed by second hour small discussion groups. They are also listed in your order of service. Today, your choices are Climate Change, led by Trudy Griffin in the library, Ancient History of Religions, led by Lauren Boyer in the Harmony Room around the corner where the piano is, and Speaker Circle up front. Kirby Locklear, our special guest, will be here to answer your questions for a while. He may not be here the whole time. And then we'd like to open up, I know there's a lot on your minds that you want to share this week, so we can open it up to some general angst at that time. You'll find that most of your choir is not here today, and we're supposed to be singing the prelude, so bear with us, we're going to do our best. The prelude, We Stand on Holy Ground. All you need is this.
No, okay.
Lauren, up here? Oh, okay. Okay, so we're impromptu this morning. Why don't you come on either side? All right. Come over here. We practice this a lot, you can tell.
Yeah. Who needs rehearsal?
We stand on holy ground. We stand on holy ground. Wherever on this earth we stand on holy ground. Each planted very generous. Our chalice will be lit by Lorelei. We come together every week, bound not by a mutual desire to please one God or many gods, yet we are drawn together by a belief that how we are in the world, who we are together, matters. We light this chalice together in the knowledge that love, not fear, can change this world. I know many of you came this morning with particularly heavy hearts, maybe a little more angst than usual. I have a request. For the next hour, would you take that heaviness, set it aside to deal with later, and we will soon, so we can properly honor Veterans Day. Our opening words are adapted from Shannon R. Holland, Lieutenant Colonel, United States Marine Corps Reserve. Veterans Day is a time for us to intentionally recognize and honor those who have served our country in times of peace and of war. It is a time for us to peer through the haze of complex historical, political, and social issues into the heart of the veterans' human spirit. We recognize their courage and resoluteness in the face of incredible adversity and honor the sacrifices they and their families have made on behalf of this nation. Our opening hymn is called Building Bridges. It's in the teal hymnal, and the words will be up on the screen. It is also around. So we'll hear it once from Cecile. We'll sing it all through once. And then if you imagine dividing yourselves in half, the people on this side are just going to keep right on rolling and sing it twice more. So you guys are singing it 3 times straight. Those of us on that side, you're going to watch me. We're going to sing it once to get the hang of it, then we're going to wait till our time to come in. Okay? So here we go. Building Bridges. Please stand as you're able. For all ages. So let me introduce him now, because you're going to be seeing a lot of him this morning. This is Kirby Locklear. He was born in Robeson County, North Carolina, the ancestral home of the Lumbee tribe, and grew up in Baltimore. During his school years, he became active in American Indian culture and learned American Indian traditional dancing and craft making. After high school graduation, he was appointed to the United States Air Force Academy. As one of only a handful of American Indians, He earned his commission as a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force and was stationed here at Hurlburt Field and flew the AC-130H gunship. Following assignments took him to Alaska to fly search and rescue missions, Illinois as a staff officer, and finally returning here to Eglin and Hurlburt. After 22 years, he retired from active duty and worked as a defense contractor for the next 23 years. After retiring in 2023, he wanted to continue to serve his community as a Fort Walton Beach City Council member and substitute teacher. His very numerous activities, volunteer activities, include leader of the Thunderbird Intertribal Council, who just put on the powwow last weekend. I know some of you were there, and Honor Guard. The Red Cross, precinct committee man, and lay leader and Sunday school teacher for Trinity United Methodist Church. He is married to Mary Ann and has 4 adult children, 8 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. So if the kids will come on up, Kirby has a story for you.
Tell you what, I'd like to have everybody, if I could have the children come closer, I appreciate it. We can gather around the step right here. I am naturally pretty loud, according to my wife, but I'll use my mic. Good morning. I would like to tell you a story from the Wasco tribe, and they're from the northwest corner of our country, and it's called Coyote Places to Stars. Long ago, before there were people, animals could talk. And there were these 5 wolf brothers, and they were great hunters. And then there was this coyote. And a coyote, amongst numerous tribes, was considered the trickster. Well, one day, Coyote comes walking along, and he sees the 5 wolf brothers sitting there looking up at the sky. And he said to the wolf brothers, "Hey, wolf brothers, what are you looking at?" And the oldest wolf brother says, "Shh, don't tell him. He's a trickster. He ruins things. Don't say anything." Coyote got all mad, and he left. Happened again the next day. Coyote comes up to him and says, "Wolf brothers, come on, tell me, what are you looking up at the sky?" And they said, No. Well, that happened again on the 3rd day, and by that time, the youngest wolf brother said to the oldest wolf brother, "Maybe we should tell him. He really needs to know." So they says, "Well, we are great hunters, and way up in the sky, we see 2 animals that we don't recognize, and we want to go see what they are. But we don't know how to get there." So the coyote, not only if he was a trickster, was pretty smart, said, "Gather all your arrows and your strongest bow." And he did. And there we had a big pile, and Coyote took the bow and he pulled it back and fired into the air, and it traveled and traveled and traveled, and guess what? Pop! It stuck in the top of the sky. He did it again. He fired. So not only was the coyote a trickster, smart, he was a pretty good shot, because the next arrow landed right behind the first one. And he kept doing it over and over and over and over until it came to back here to the earth. And he said, "Wolf brothers, come with me. Let's go climb this rope, this arrow rope, and we'll go see what those animals are." And they climbed, and they climbed, and they climbed, and they climbed, and they finally got to the top of the sky. And there they saw the 2 animals. They were 2 grizzly bears, and they were sitting over there. And the younger wolves ran ahead. Even the older wolf says, "Please, slow down. We don't know what will happen." And the 2 younger wolves ran up and faced them. And then the older wolves finally lined up in a little arc of 3. But they stopped, and they looked at each other. The bears looked at the wolves looked at the bears. And Coyote said, "Wow, what a beautiful, peaceful picture this is." And so he says, "I think I'm just going to leave them here." So Coyote started climbing back down the arrow rope, and every time he threw one of the arrows down, and he climbed all the way back down. And when he got back down, all he could see were these little dots of light in the sky. They were so far away. So tonight, if the sky is clear, or when the sky is clear, take a look at that design. It's called the Big Dipper. And for those who know their astronomy out there, that constellation is called Canis Major, which is called the Big Bear. So that is how Coyote placed the stars in the sky. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And the children are staying in the service today. So, yeah, I know, Sam, you were ready to go. Normally, this is the time when you go back, but there's some more cool stuff that Kirby Locklear has for you. So, we're all staying put. Now, normally at this time, I would say, you are invited to briefly share your personal joys and concerns by dropping a glass pebble into the bowl of water, either silently or by speaking a few words into the microphone, so we may support each other in sorrows and celebrate together in joy. Now, you know as well as I do that sometimes this takes 2 minutes, sometimes 5, 10. I've seen it take 15, 20. I suspect we could be here all morning today, and we don't want to do that. So here's what we're going to do. How we need to save political conversation for outside of the church service. So I am going to take a handful like this and drop them in for all of those of you who really want to come up and share your political concerns right now, and ask that you please save them for conversation time after the service. For second hour sharing groups would be the perfect time. And for right now, let's have those very personal joys and concerns that are not political. Thank you. Today I begin with A Prayer for Veterans Day by A.F. Fulton. Today we bow our heads in recognition of the great service and sacrifice some have been asked to make. Living through the horror that is war, facing death or physical harm as a specter looming around any corner, we say thank you and know it will never be enough. Help us to embrace those we have sent forth in our names into danger. Give us the strength of will to serve them as they have served us. May they never hunger. May they never thirst. May there always be meaningful work for their hands. May they receive healing care in abundance. And may we, the grateful heirs of a nation built on the idea of liberty, be faithful in pursuing that dream in our own lives and actions. Help us to be vigilant and never complacent. Let each one of us take personally this charge. May it be so, and may it be so. Amen. After our song of dedication, the greeters will take up the offering. Generosity is a spiritual practice. Our fellowship is supported by our pledges and donations. If you're paying your pledge with a check, please make a note of that in the memo line. We also have a tradition we call Share the Plate, where all cash and unmarked checks are shared equally with a local charity. For the month of November, our Share the Plate partner is Healing Paws for Warriors. By training rescue dogs to become ADA certified service animals, Healing Paws saves 2 lives at once, the dog and the struggling veteran. Please be generous. Music is by Kirby.
This song I like to sing is from the Pima tribe, and it is a song that mothers would sing to their children, sort of like a rockabye baby. Ikpata nawachi nawachi nachi chuje e maya maya alechi kuana hey ana Ikpata nawachi nawachi nachi chuje maya maya alechi kuana hey ana whoa.
And now our perspective, heroes amongst us.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Okay. It's very appropriate that I was asked to come here today because November is not only
Native American Month, but this is a Sunday before Veterans Day. My name is Kirby Locklear, and I'm a member of the Lumbee tribe and an Air Force veteran. Before I jump in my story, I would like to thank the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of the Emerald Coast. That's a mouthful, by the way. And Amanda for inviting me to talk to you today. Amanda contacted me a few months ago to ask if I could talk about Native American warrior traditions. I agreed, but instead of taking those months prepared, I started two days ago to write a few thoughts. There was a lot of other things going on in my mind at that time. I asked her, what should I talk about? And she said, speak about the Native American warrior traditions, tell a few war stories, and share some aspects of your culture. Decisions. I couldn't decide, so I'll talk a little bit about all. And besides, what veteran doesn't like to tell a war story or two? Isn't that right, Richard? So I decided to call this talk Heroes Among Us. That's a pretty grand title. When I was a kid, and when I thought about heroes, I thought about John Wayne and Audie Murphy, the difference between the two. But I do admire them both. The difference is one was a real hero, and the other one played one in the movies. So what is a hero? Google it. You'll get hundreds of hits and hundreds of quotes. Christopher Reeves said it best and simply. A hero is an ordinary individual who finds strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles, and that really strikes home today. But Ralph Waldo Emerson's quote made me smile, and I just had to include it. A hero is no braver than an ordinary man, but he is brave 5 minutes longer. Throughout our short history since Columbus, Native Americans have fought for and against this nation, oftentimes amongst themselves. Whenever two groups of people are at odds over sharing resources, sometimes conflicts arise. The Europeans needed land resources, and we natives had it, and pushed back. Even as late as the 1880s, the pushing and shoving continued over land. As the number of people coming to America grew, established themselves, and established governments and militaries, some tribes allied themselves with these new militaries. I'm not here to speak about the Indian Wars. That is a subject for another day. I want to focus on the Indian warrior tradition and the modern American military. American Indians have participated with distinction in the United States military for over 200 years. American military leaders recognized the courage, determination, and fighting spirit early as the 18th century. Many tribes were involved in the War of 1812, and Indians fought on both sides as auxiliary troops in the Civil War. Scouting the enemy was recognized as a particular skill of the Native American soldier. In 1866, the U.S. Army established the Indian Scouts to explore this aptitude. The Scouts were active in the American West in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Accompanied General John J. Pershing expedition into Mexico to pursue Pancho Villa in 1916. They were deactivated in 1947 when the last member retired from the Army in ceremonies at Fort Huachuca, Arizona. Native Americans from Indian Territory were also recruited by Teddy Roosevelt's Rough Riders and saw action in Cuba in the Spanish-American War in 1898. As the military entered the 20th century, American Indians were already made a substantial contribution through military service and were on the brink of playing an even larger role. It is estimated that 12,000 American Indians served in the United States military in World War I. Approximately 600 Oklahoma Indians and mostly Choctaw and Creek Cherokee were assigned to the 142nd Infantry Brigade of the 36th Texas Oklahoma National Guard Division. The 142nd saw action in France, and its soldiers were widely recognized for their contributions in battle, and many were awarded high awards. During the outbreak of World War II, brought American Indians back to the battlefield in defense of the homeland. Although now eligible by the draft by virtue of the Snyder Act, which gave citizenship of the United States Indians, or American Indians in 1924, conscription alone does not account for the disproportionate number of Indians who joined the armed services. More than 44,000 American Indians out of a total population of less than 350,000 served with distinction between 1944 and 1945 in both the European and Pacific theaters. Battle experienced Indian troops from World War II were joined by newly recruited Native Americans to fight communist aggression in Korea, and Native Americans' strong sense of patriotism and courage emerged once again during the Vietnam era. More than 42,000 Native Americans, more than 90% of them volunteers, fought in Vietnam. Native American contributions in the United States continued in the 80s through the present in such areas as Grenada, Panama, Bosnia, Somalia, and the Persian Gulf. Currently, there are nearly 200,000 Native American military veterans. It is well recognized historically Native Americans have the highest record of service capita when compared to other ethnic groups. The reasons behind this disproportionate contributions are complex and deeply rooted in traditional American Indian culture. In many aspects, Native Americans are no different from others who volunteer for military service. They do, however, have distinctive cultural values which drive them to serve their country. One such value is their proud warrior tradition. The warrior tradition is best exemplified by the following qualities said to be inherited in most, if not all, Native American societies: strength, honor, pride, devotion, and wisdom. These qualities make a perfect fit for the military tradition. The requirements for military service, strength, bravery, pride, and wisdom, match those of the Indian warrior. Military service affords an outlet to fulfill a culturally defined role for the warrior. Therefore, the military is an opportunity for cultural self-fulfillment. By sending young tribal members off to be warriors, they return with experience that make them valuable members of their society. Finally, the military provides educational opportunities which allow Native American veterans to return to their community with productive job skills to improve their quality of life. Now in the 21st century, the United States military can be expected to provide continuing opportunity for Native American men and women. For their part, Native Americans can be expected to carry out the centuries-old warrior traditions, serving with pride, courage, and distinction. Now I could go on about other contributions, but let me bend your ear real quick about the Navajo Code Talkers. We all saw the movie, and but did you know that code talking, however, was pioneered by the Cherokee and the Choctaw? And the Choctaw is our local group here. And that started in World War I. Other Native American code talkers were deployed in the United States during United States Army during World War II, and they include the Dakota people and the Comanche soldiers. Of the 3,528 Medals of Honor awarded as of 2024, 32 have been awarded to Native Americans. Overall, 9 in World War II, over 9 Indians won the Medal of Honor. Of those Indians in the Army and the Air Corps, the Office of the Indian Affairs reported in November 1945 that 71 received the Air Medal, 51 the Silver Star, 47 the Bronze Star, 37 the Distinguished Flying Cross, and 2 received the Medal of Honor. Are there any Marine veterans in the room today? Just curious. Okay. As I mentioned, one of those medal winners was a guy named Major Pappy Boyington. He was an American combat pilot and was a Marine Corps fighter ace during World War II. Pappy was the leader of the famous Black Sheep Squadron and personally shot down an incredible 26 Japanese aircraft. His book, Baba Black Sheep, was a bestseller and got turned into a movie and a TV series back in the 1970s. He stayed in the Marines and retired as a full colonel. He received both the Medal of Honor and the Navy Cross. Pappy was a member of the Coeur d'Alene tribe in Idaho. So I told you a little bit about myself, being a Lumbee Indian, retired lieutenant colonel from the Air Force. Has anybody ever heard of the Lumbee tribe? There's somebody back there. And I'm glad I got a few hands because not a lot of people know about us, but we are from the southeast corner of North Carolina. We're actually the largest tribe east of the Mississippi River and the ninth largest tribe in America. And as my personal background, I was born in North Carolina. My father was Herbert Locklear, and he was the son of a sharecropper, of a poor dirt farmer in Robinson County. But my father wasn't content with being that farmer's life, so he wanted to move on. He was the only one in his family that graduated when the average Native American only made it to the 6th grade. And he went on to join the military, and when he got out, he was able to receive the GI Bill and finish his college, and he moved us up to Baltimore, Maryland, where I attended school. War stories. Okay, I said I was going to share one. On the 22nd of October the same year, or in 1983, my crew was sent to Charleston Air Force Base to pick up an AC-130. The next morning in base ops, the news about the 1983 Beirut bombing barracks that killed 300 Marines, sailors, and soldiers. We nervously joked about, okay, boys, we're going to Bekaa Valley, Lebanon. And we knew about the surface-to-air missiles. We were more likely to be on the losing end of that matchup. And as we flew back to Hurlburt, we joked that a staff car was going to meet us as soon as we landed. Sure enough, that sedan was there. And the colonel got out and told us, go home, your immediate crew rest, and we were subject to recall in 12 hours. I went home to kiss the wife and kids goodbye, packed a bag, and waited for the call. 24 hours later, I was called in. Like the World War II movies that you see of the 8th Air Force bomber crews, we gathered in an auditorium, and there was a black sheet covering the map. We knew we were heading to Lebanon. We even knew that there was a convoy of Marines and a U.S. carrier group was streaming there as we speak. The senior officer stepped to the stage and said, gentlemen, here's your destination. He pulled the sheet, we all fell silent, and one unknown Spectre gunship shouted, where is that? But insert a colorful word. Grenada. I, along with most of the room, have never heard of the place. Long story short, it was my first real combat experience. We fired our weapons and the Cubans fired back. And like the movies, there were air bursts all around us. I think when things get deadly serious, politics and reasons we go to war go out the window. All I cared about was my fellow aircrew members and the soldiers on the ground taking fire. I prayed a simple prayer. God, please do not let me mess up in front of my friends. Insert colorful word. Well, he forgave my language and kept me from messing up. And that was just one of the many stories for those 2 weeks I was deployed for Operation Urgent Fury. It was a great career. I appreciate the friends I flew and fought with during those 22 years on active duty. I mourn my friends who died, but am I a hero? I will be the first to say I'm not. I had a job to do, and I did it. Well, I want to segue into a little bit about my culture before I wrap up Heroes Among Us. I talked about the drum real quick, the different dance beats. As you could hear, that beat had a particular heartbeat with the Impata song. The other song that I tell is what we call the In Tribal. I'll go real quick because I look like I'm running long time. This is a song sung by the Dakota people, otherwise people know them as Sioux. And it goes, and notice this is a steadier beat, whereas the Inkpata was, and this is what we call an intertribal. Lakota shina wakata shina kiki kaiwabasha nu na e nu na e nu na e lo I. Okay. Now, if you bear with me for a minute, I am going to give you a quick dance demonstration. All right. I hope some of you were able to join us for the powwow last weekend, and if you did, I will tell you because I too am the finance person for that too, and I know what that takes. We did well. Now, when a traditional native warrior would dance, he's usually telling a story through dance. And that usually shows something that he had just been on a hunting party or a war party or whatever. And you'll notice the movements that he makes when he does that. And when he dances, as she, he dances to the beat. That was just a little taste. Well, I hope you got to see that, but we're going to be planning for the next powwow. That'll be good. Let me catch your breath here. Not as young as I used to be. All right. As I segue back to Heroes Among Us, I'd like to tell you about who I consider my biggest hero. This young man joined the Marine Corps right out of graduation from Choctawhatchee High School. He was a Lumbee Indian and proud of his native heritage. In November 2000, he completed boot camp at Parris Island. He would joke to me about being in a real military versus the Air Force. I had no argument with that. That's why I picked the Air Force. I'll pick an O Club over a fire base any day. He was trained as a mortarman and worked his way up to platoon sergeant. On his second combat tour in Iraq, he was driving the divisional commander out of Camp Blue Diamond, Ramadi, Iraq. There his convoy was ambushed and his Humvee was hit by an IED. He survived along with everyone in the vehicle, but he suffered traumatic brain injury, but bad enough to end his career. On his fourth and last deployment to Afghanistan, during firefight somewhere in Helmand province, he was knocked unconscious and medevaced out. After that last tour, his body and mind couldn't take it any longer. He was medically retired from the Marine Corps, and after 13 years of honorable service with 100% disability. He moved back to Fort Walton with his children and started a courageous battle to be healed. But the toll of his combat injuries finally got him. One night on the 13th of January, he fell asleep in his easy chair and never woke up. The next morning on the 14th of January, his father received a call he never wanted to hear. Your son is dead. This young man was very proud of his native heritage. During the last 2 years of his life, he dedicated himself to learning his native dance, his native drumming, and making his dance regalia. If Christopher Reeves is correct about what is a hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. My son, Staff Sergeant Jason Locklear, United States Marine Corps retired, is the true hero among us. Thank you.
Please stand as you're able for our final hymn, One More Step. It's number 168 in the gray hymnal. Our closing words are also by Lieutenant Colonel, United States Marine Corps Reserve, Shannon Holland. As we celebrate, contemplate, and grieve during this Veterans Day, let us recall the commitments and sacrifices of our veterans, especially the fallen. Let us think on what we might do to build a future worthy of their sacrifice. And for all of our deployed servicemen and women, let us be part of the community of love and support that surrounds them on their return. They will need a circle wide enough to hold all their stories, and brave and gentle enough to walk with them through a difficult transition. Please stay seated for the postlude. Thank you all for coming. Please join us in the back for refreshments, conversation, and stay to discuss if you like.